Hi guys, my name's Eugene, and today we're going to talk about skin smoothing. I'll show you 3 different techniques on how to smooth skin in Photoshop. And for this tutorial series, I just really wanted to focus on one little section of portrait editing so we fully understand and grasp the concept. Because I know my tutorials move a little fast, and I'm trying to find that sweet balance between informational and, not being too long. I figured if I just broke it down into like different series, like today we'll talk about skin smoothing, and then on the next one we'll talk about dodging and burning, you guys will be able to follow along a lot better. So let's get started. When I first started photo editing, this was like how I learned how to smooth out someone's skin without losing too much of the texture. I am using a Wacom tablet. I guess with this technique you could use a mouse, but you just don't have that much control and it just takes longer. So unless you're pretty nasty with a mouse, I would suggest you getting a Wacom tablet. What I did was already get rid of my blemishes. I didn't want to do that on video. Yeah, that would have taken forever. For this first technique, what you want to do is create a new layer, then you'll create a stamp visible. Make the image black and white, hit OK, go to normal and click overlay, and then go to filter, other, high pass filter, and then you kind of want to pick a filter where you can start seeing like your skin texture. 5 is probably a good area. So underneath that layer, we'll just call this texture skin. Underneath your texture skin layer, create a new layer. And then you want to clip the texture skin to this empty layer. And what that does is this texture skin will only show up when you start painting inside your empty layer. The brush hardness is all the way down, and start with a flow of 3. Also, I shot this photo a while back before I decided to even make a YouTube, and it was just kind of like practicing how to take self-portraits of myself. So this shot, I used 2 GVM lights. They're RGB lights and kind of just had like a teal and red color. Playing around just to see if I could shoot a self-portrait by myself and how difficult it was gonna be to do on camera. I will do a video on how to get this type of lighting. I do want to refine it a little because I think this one's just a little intense. I think it's a good example of an image where I can really show how to smooth skin out. And you want to kind of be a little further back, and you want a brush that's bigger than the area that you're gonna paint. So I normally start with the forehead and then go all the way down to my neck and then my arms and stuff. But I won't do the whole thing. I'll just do kind of like part of the image. Just start painting. You can kind of see all these colors just start blending together, and take a lot of samples. Just make it bigger. Normally I make it the size of the area that I'm blending. This is a good way to practice your Wacom because you have so much control. And then for skin smoothing, you just kind of want to look at these areas with like big lighting shifts and then kind of try to get them blended together. So the fall off of the light is a lot smoother. And then you just kind of want to layer. Or to rotate, I'll just do this cheek right here and then move on to a different technique. There you go. There we go. So that's technique number 1. And, if you felt like you overdid it, like just lower the opacity and then start to raise it back up. 95 looks good. We still keep our textures. It doesn't look too plasticky. You can overdo it. That's why you kind of want to start with a flow that's a little lower. But that's technique number 1. And that's the high pass skin smoothing technique. Let's just group this. So for this next technique, we're gonna use a frequency separation. It's like my favorite way to smooth out skin. To create a frequency separation, you wanna create a new layer, create a stamp visible. Let's duplicate it, work on the bottom one. For this one, you wanna call this skin. It's just what I call it. You can name it whatever you want. And for the second layer, I'm gonna call it texture, and that's where the texture of our image will live. So on the skin layer, you go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. You just want to blur it enough to where the skin's texture starts to go away. So it's between like 8 and 10. Actually, let's just go to 10. There we go. Okay, cool. So now we have our skin texture, and it's all blurred out. You want to turn on your texture layer. Go to image, apply image. On layer, you want to pick skin for our skin layer texture. You want to change the blend to subtract. Make sure your opacity is at 100%, your scale is at 2, and your offset's at 128. And invert isn't clicked on. Hit OK. And then you go to your skin texture layer, go to the blend modes, and then just go to linear light. Yeah, so if I turn off my skin layer, you see all the textures on my face. It's a lot. It's not a lot to look at. If you have both on, then our image looks regular. You want to group these, call it FS for frequency separation. Here's a really quick way to get skin smoothing. I don't like it as much because you don't really get as much control. So you want to make a copy of the skin layer. You want to go to your lasso tool. Set the feather to something high. Let's try, make this like 24. Q. All right, that's feathered a little better. Q again, and you're on your skin copy. You go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. You kind of want to blur it something high, right? Let's do 16. Whoa, not 136. 16. Hit OK. So that's kind of like a quick and dirty way to smooth out skin. And then, you know, with this technique, what I like to do is I like to pick edges where the tone differences start. Then you just go to filter, hit Gaussian blur again. So I'll just go around the image and kind of find where the color differences are. Right there. Control Alt F. And you just want to go all the way around. And I like to do big areas with this technique. And then I'll go over some areas that I've already blurred. And you don't really want to get hard edges, so I wouldn't include my ear in that. Sometimes with smaller areas, since your feather's so high, it might not actually select. But this is a pretty big photo. So I did a pretty good job. On my skin, we still keep the texture layer, and then it blended our tones a little better. Lasso, Gaussian blur, skin smooth. Cool. So in a pinch, very great technique. You could also create a new layer, and then for areas like that didn't really blend that well, you can just go over it. Set your flow to 3%. Or lower if you're just starting. It's just a really quick way to smooth out someone's skin or your skin. All right, so for the last way, and this is my favorite way to smooth out people's skin, is using a mixer brush. It's a great way to mix colors on your image, and it gives you like so much control over how you blend. It does take a little bit to kind of recognize like if you blended in the colors a little well, and you could also lower the opacity if you did it too much. I think that's the only downside, is that you're just kind of working on one layer and you kind of have to get it perfect and not overdo it. What you want to do is just create a copy of your skin layer. If you hold click on your brush, mixer brush will pop up. My settings are, my wet is set to 10%, my load is at 50, my mix is at 50, and then for my flow, I don't go higher than 20. You can if you're really good at this technique. I like to be on the safer side, so normally I start with 15. So now that you're on your mixer brush tool, you could work a little closer too, so you could see everything. And all you're gonna do is alt click on an area that you want to mix and just start mixing. And you want to, select a couple different areas, just really blend them. Now I always like to go to the direction of the skin. So this is where like rotating and stuff kind of comes in handy. This one's a bigger area, so and you just want to like kind of click and then blend, click and then blend. You don't want to stay on one area for too long, because then it'll just keep blending and blending. You just kind of want your brush to be kind of the size of the area that you're trying to blend. This is a very, quick and accurate way to smooth out skin. There you go, look how nice that looks. And there's some areas I want to fix too, like right here. I want to blend these a little better. Go down and bring up your opacity. 95 is good. Right there, so look at my face. It just does like a really good job of just like blending colors in. And then after the mixer brush tools, I mean, there's sometimes like you get areas that you kind of want to fix. Like I think that's right here. We could blend in a little better right here. What I like to do is just create a new layer, hit B, go to your regular brush tool. You could start at, start with something low. If you aren't comfortable with painting yet, I like to start at 5, because I could always just like lower the opacity down. Rotate. I want to fix this area right here. Alt click on an area that you want to blend. Normally when I'm doing this technique, I like to work on separate layers. So I would just make a layer for the forehead, make a layer for the cheeks. And that's pretty good. It's not bad. Right here we could blend this. Not getting too raccoon-y. There you go. And then you could just lower the opacity and then bring it back up. And right there. And that's how you smooth out skin in Photoshop, guys. Any of these techniques will work for you. It just takes practice and some getting used to. It just really depends on which ones you like to do the best. So for the next technique episode, I would really like to go over dodging and burning. And I feel like dodging and burning is like a really big part, what makes a photo good to great. Thank you again, guys, and I'll see you next time.